Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have you here for today's Summer Learning Series session, where we're going to uncover the most often overlooked strategies that set exceptional speakers apart. We're asking, is your website accessible or invisible? I'm joined by Kaylee, our incredible web expert here at Pibworth, and today we're going to talk about um, what what inaccessible sites are costing speakers.
Thanks, Lauren. It's amazing how often we see speakers with strong messaging, but their site is locking out buyers, sometimes literally.
Exactly. And it's not just talking about users with disabilities. That's not all that accessibility is. We're talking about anyone who's using your site on mobile, who has aging eyesight, or who needs to get to your info fast and can't. Accessibility really matters. So before we get too deep into this topic, let's start at the beginning. What is an accessible website?
That's a great question. Website accessibility means ensuring that every visitor, regardless of physical ability, neurodiversity, or assistive technology use, can fully experience and interact with your website. That includes people using screen readers, having to use keyboard navigation, voice recognition software, and more. Think of it this way. If your keynote takes into account inclusion and DEI, but your website can't be read by someone who's visually impaired or neurodivergent, that's a big disconnect. And from a technical standpoint, it's not just about being nice, it's about legally and ethically making sure your website is open to everyone.
And you're right, Kelly. And a question I'm often asked when I talk about this is why should speakers even care? I mean, realistically, how many meeting planners or decision makers are there who need or use assistive technology? And for me, the answer is twofold. It's a legal benchmark for websites, period. And number two, websites that aren't accessible aren't being found by Google for long. Let's start with the law. The Website Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, came into effect in the US starting around 2017 and in Canada around 2021. In fact, Ontario has its own Disabilities Act. So if you're based in Ontario or doing business there, the OADA, or Ontario uh, whatever, requires requires public and private organizations to have their website compliant by January 1st, 2025. And yes, at the time of this recording, it is June 2025. You are already late. Now, technically, this applies to all public sector organizations or not nonprofits with 50 plus employees. But like many laws, think Castle, our anti-spam law, it started out only being for big or organizations, but it filtered down to you and I pretty fast. So if you're a speaker who markets to corporations, associations, or government, or positions yourself in a leader, as a leader in DNI, DEI, education, healthcare, or HR, then you're expected to model accessibility in your digital presence. Not just because it's the law, but because it shows integrity, credibility, and thought leadership. And if you're selling products or courses or memberships online, your store is legally a storefront. That puts you under a lot bigger scrutiny because you have to offer equal access to commerce. It's a term, equal access to commerce. So if somebody with a disability can't navigate your course checkout or use your membership platform, all of a sudden they're seeing it as a discrimination issue. We're seeing a rise in lawsuits against entrepreneurs selling online courses in the US, and it's a little bit concerning.
And of course, the other reasons modern websites need to be accessible is because search engines and AI search will skip over your site when showing search results. Search engines prioritize usability, and accessibility is a huge part of that. Google, Bing, other search engines, plus now the AI search bots rank websites based on how helpful, user friendly, and accessible they are. Accessibility is not just a nice to have, it's baked into their core algorithms now. If a screen reader can't understand your site, neither can a search engine or an AI bot. Accessible websites load faster because of clean semantic code. They use proper heading structures. Google especially loves that. They include descriptive alt texts, which feeds into image search visibility, and have low bounce rates because users can actually interact with them.
And as AI search becomes more and more mainstream, think Google's AI overviews, ChatGPT's web browsing, Bing AI, Copilot, Microsoft, it relies on structured machine readable content. So if your site uses images instead of text, or it lacks metadata, or it doesn't follow the WCAG structure, then AI tools may completely skip over it, or worse, misunderstand your content. Imagine someone searching for best leadership keynote speaker in Canada, but your inaccessible speaker site doesn't show up because AI can't read it. That's a missed gig. Um, let's talk about some of the most common accessibility mistakes we see on speaker websites and why they matter. Maybe more than people think.
The number one item that we see is low contrast text. And, it, there's a lot of websites out there with that were designed to be beautiful and, with these amazing color schemes, but they just are not legible for people that have low vision or color blindness. If your text doesn't have enough contrast from the background, it's unreadable for these people. And it doesn't just affect people with diagnosed vision impairments.
Mm.
Think of someone trying to read your phone in bright sunlight and they can't see your call to action button or read a quote because they're gone. That's a lost lead. So you can use contrast checkers like WebAIM's tool to make sure your text meets WCAG's 4.5 to 1 ratio for body text. Videos without captions or transcripts. We are speakers. We love our videos, but videos without captions or transcripts are instantly excluding a huge audience, including people who are deaf, hard of hearing, or neurodivergent, or even just watching in a noisy airport. AI bots and search engines can't watch videos, they read the transcripts. So missing captions don't just hurt accessibility, they hurt your SEO too. You can use tools like Descript or YouTube's auto captioning. Make sure you proofread them because they do like to make mistakes. Keyboard inaccessibility is another one. If your site can't be navigated by a keyboard alone, that it's not accessible. This impacts users with mobility impairments, tremors, or those who simply prefer not to use a mouse. Try this. Go to your own site, unplug your mouse, and try to navigate using just your tab key. Can you reach the navigation bar? Can you click a buy now button? Can you fill out your contact form? Work with a developer or theme to make sure that these keyboard navigation items are in place. If you use WordPress, make sure you're using an accessibility ready theme. This one is another big one, missing or misused alt text. More often it's missing. So screen readers can read what your image is about. There's no description to tell the visitor what is going on in your image. It's just a dead image or a graphic, and that's not usable to anybody. But here's where it gets tricky. Some people stuff their alt text with keywords to try to game SEO. Others just say image of a woman smiling when it's actually your keynote photo, a powerful credibility asset. Write meaningful alt text that describes what's important about the image. If it's just decorative, mark it as such. If it's important, describe the emotion, the setting, and the context. Sites built entirely with visual builders. We love drag and drop builders. But if your site is just a bunch of floating text boxes and images with no proper headings, labels, or structure, screen readers cannot read them. And neither can a search engine. Think of it like this: your site looks like a magazine to a user, but it reads like a ransom note to assistive technology. Use semantic HTML and accessibility ready builders. Always structure your heading with your content with headings and use them in the proper order. H1 always at the top, followed by H2s and H3s under that, so on and so forth. No skip links or landmark regions. This one's a little more advanced, but it makes a huge difference. Landmark regions are the important sections of your website that are read by screen readers to tell users where they are on your website and how that section is meant to be read.
So you mean like a heading would be a landmark region, and then the content would be a landmark region, and then the footer would be a landmark region. Is that kind of what
Correct.
you're saying? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So screen readers can properly follow the structure in those landmark regions to assist the visitor with getting around each of the different important parts of your website.
Okay.
Okay, so this one's a little bit harder fix. Ask your developer to add skip links if they're missing, or ARIA landmarks, roles like main, nav, footer, like we just talked about, for better screen reader flow. Not testing your site with real tools. We often assume that our site is accessible because it looks good to us, but we aren't the people that are using the screen readers. We're not trying to browse using voice commands or a keyboard. You can test these out yourself. Try tools like Wave by WebAIM to scan the pages. PC Windows based computers have a free screen reader NVDA.
Mhm.
Mac or iPhones, you can enable voiceover and tab key. You can use a tab key, sorry, to test your navigation.
Exactly. Spend 10 minutes using your site like someone else might. I think you'd probably be surprised at what you find. Oh, and another thing that bugs me is those unlabeled links. They drive me nuts. Click here. That gives no clue what you're clicking into. It's a terrible thing for screen readers and for scanning. Um, I think bottom line here, most of these issues are relatively easy to fix and even easier to overlook. But here's the heart of it. If your website isn't built for everyone, then that's the opposite of what most speakers stand for. We want to reach everyone, but if we are purposely excluding, purposely or not, if we're excluding people, that's not what we're here for. Accessibility isn't about perfection, it's about intention and progress. The more accessible your site is, the more people can connect with your message, your work, and your impact. So let's just give one quick example of accessibility and how this worked. Kaylee, let's talk about Mark Levy. So Mark came to us with a beautiful website, like stunning. It looked fantastic, and it still looks fantastic. But you were able to do some tweaks to help it reach the accessibility guidelines. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. As you said, Mark's website was beautiful, and it still is. And there was not a ton that we had to do to get it from where it was to where it is now. We went through the site and added and changed the way some items were laid out to make the flow better. Um, as far as accessibility specifically, he did have some contrast issues. There was a lot of the text throughout the site that just didn't pass accessibility standards, contrast standards. Think red text on yellow background or yellow text on red. So we went through and made sure that all of those instances were updated so that they became fully passed all contrast checks, and just kind of made the flow better, for made sure that all headings were semantically set and everything just flowed perfectly.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks. So, what can the speakers listening to this call do right now to diagnose and fix this?
Okay, so you're probably thinking this is important, but I'm not super techie. It's okay. There's a few simple things that you can do on your own this week without hiring a developer. So as we've already said, use the tab key. Go to your website, test it using just the tab key. Don't touch your mouse. Tab through your website. Can you navigate through your menu, through your page? Does it go through the page as it's supposed to, from section to section, from item to item? If you can't get through your site using just your tab key, that's a huge red flag. Check your text for your, sorry, apologize. Text, check your images for alt text. Open one of your pages on your website. Click on an image. Does it have an alt description? If it doesn't, add one. Describe what's going on in the text, in the image. Make sure that you tell your audience what is going on in that photo or graphic. Go to WebAIM's contrast checker and plug in a couple of the colors that you're using on your website. Use plug in the main color and the background. Do they pass contrast? If they don't, you're going to want to change those colors to make sure that they do. Turn on captions for your videos. If you have speaker reels, webinars, or testimonials on your site, check that they include captions or transcripts. Bonus, this is really good for SEO and keeps your visitors engaged longer.
Yeah.
There are also some free accessibility scanners that you can use that will scan your page and give you a summary of all the items that may need to be addressed for accessibility. There's Wave by WebAIM or even Google Lighthouse. It's like a quick little health check, and it will give you a list of all those things that you may have never noticed.
Awesome. And these tips are a great start. Accessibility wise, they are really gold standard as far as doing things yourself. You might also want to take advantage of our free website and marketing strategy assessment on our website. I'll put the link in the comments, and that covers more than accessibility. It gives you some additional insights into some things we haven't covered today. But for most speakers, especially those with bigger goals, courses, or a content-heavy site, a comprehensive audit is often the smartest step. And here's the thing. A comprehensive audit is not a page-by-page checklist. Our accessibility audit is part of a much bigger process that we offer through our digital ecosystem consults. And that's where we take a strategic bird's eye view of your entire presence, your website, your lead magnets, your email systems, your social media, your SEO, and yes, your accessibility too. And we'll show you exactly how all of the moving parts of your engine are or aren't working together and where upgrades are needed so everything flows better, converts better, and reaches more of the people that you're meant to serve. Let's wrap it up. Kaylee, thank you so much for sharing your insight today. Having team members like you with your level of expertise is awesome. It's a gift for me, it's a gift to them. And I know our viewers are walking away with a whole new perspective on what accessibility really means for their speaker website. Um, if you're ready for more clarity, confidence, and a website that actually supports the business you're building, let's talk. You can use the link below to schedule your consult. And don't forget, your next summer learning series video will be landing in your inbox soon, so keep an eye out. We've got more insights and action steps coming your way that you won't want to miss. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, take care.